When I was growing up, my sisters and I would spend the entire summer camping with our grandparents. We would go to the White Mountains up in New Hampshire, and we would spend all our time hiking, fishing, swimming, but our favorite part was campfires. Almost every night, we would sit out by the campfire under the stars, roasting marshmallows and toasting hot dogs. And if we were lucky, our grandfather would recite the Creamation of Sam McGee, all from memory. He had learned this poem when he was a little boy, and it was one of our favorites. I don't think we understood the poem growing up when we were little, but we always loved it. There's no promise as sacred as a man's last request, and when Sam McGee asks his friend to cremate his last remains if he should die, he knows that he's going to be taken care of. This is The Cremation of Sam McGee by Robert Service. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the strangest they ever did see was the night on the marge of Lake Lebarge I cremated Sam McGee. Now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the south to roam round the pole, God only knows. But he was always cold, and the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his homely way he'd sooner live in hell. On Christmas Day we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk of your cold! Through the Parker's fold it stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes would close, the lashes froze, till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed in tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars overhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me and, "Cap," he says, "I'll cash in this trip, I guess. And if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request." Well, he seemed so low I couldn't say no, and he says with a sort of a moan, "It's this cursed cold, and it's got right hold till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. It ain't being dead, it's my awful dread of this icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that foul or fair, you'll cremate my last remains." A pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I would not fail. And we started at the streak of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched in the sleigh and he raved all the day of his home in Tennessee. Before nightfall a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There wasn't a breath in that land of death, and I hurried horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid, because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, "You may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate those last remains." Now a promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. In the days to come, though my lips were done in the heart, how I cursed that load. In the long, long night by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to the wholesome snows, oh God, how I loathed that thing. And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavier and heavier grow, and on I went, though the dogs were spent, and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in, and I'd often sing to the hateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin. Till I came to the marge at Lake Lebarge, and a derelict there lay. It was jammed in the ice, but I saw in a trice it was called Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. Then, "Here," I said with a sudden cry, "is my crematorium!" Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coals I found that was lying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. The flames just soared, and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. And I burrowed a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. Then I made a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so. And the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I don't know why. And the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking toward the sky. I don't know how long in the snow I wrestled with my grisly fear, but the stars came out, and they danced about ere again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, "I'll just take a peek inside. I guess he's cooking, it's time I looked," and the door I opened wide. And there sat Sam, looking cool and calm, in the heart of the furnace roar. And he wore a smile you could see for a mile, and he said, "Please close that door. It's fine in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and storm. Since I left Plumtree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm." There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was the night on the marge of Lake Lebarge I cremated Sam McGee.